Is everyone here?
Vanmakulu, kombela signature laugh, wala.
Read abantu labakhulu.
Grand, man.
Amandla ibuyelela.
I didn't.
Kanimam. Is everyone here? Are we ready to start? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
yes, Commissioner.
Thank you. We agreed last night that today we will deal with correspondent accounts. Correspondent accounts. Please mute yourselves. Right. Correspondent accounts emanate from the court rule that requires a party to civil proceedings to appoint an address within 15 kilometers from the courthouse. When you litigate in a civil matter, the law requires that you must appoint an address within 15 kilometers from the courthouse. I take it that you dealt with this when you did your civil procedure in the magistrate's court and your civil procedure in the High Court. Both in the High Court and the Match Court, you have this rule that you need to appoint an address within 15 kilometers from the courthouse. This has resulted in legal practitioners not only appointing an address within 15 kilometers from the courthouse, but instead of appointing an address within 15 kilometers, attorneys have developed a practice of appointing other law firms situated within 15 kilometers from the courthouse. Instead of just appointing an address, you appoint another law firm to act as your correspondent. If I may give an example, my practice is in Tzaneen. If I have a matter in Bombela or in Port Elizabeth or in Durban, I am not allowed to use my Tzaneen address in litigating in the Mbombela Civil Court. I am required to appoint an address which is within 15 kilometers from the Mbombela Court. For as long as in the court where I intend litigating or around the court where I intend litigating, there are more than 3 firms of attorneys who are practicing independent of each other, I must appoint an address within 15 kilometers from that courthouse. Mulema Mokoro, is that a hand or is it a mistake? Right, I take it it's a mistake. So the rule says in civil matters, parties must appoint an address within 15 kilometers from the courthouse. You need to appoint an address within 15 kilometers if there are more than 3 firms of practicing attorneys around that court's area of jurisdiction, which firms practice independent of each other. If there's no firm there, you may use your address, although it is far away from that court or it is more than 15 kilometers away from that court. Other than that, you must appoint an address. So because of this, you end up having situations where you, as an attorney, appoint another attorney somewhere to act as your correspondent. And instances where another attorney from somewhere appoints you to act as their correspondent. In other words, correspondent accounts are divided by 2. Number 1, you have an instance where you receive instructions from another attorney. And number 2, you have an instance where you give instructions to another attorney. Where you receive instructions, you will do the work or you will render legal services on behalf of your instructing attorney. After having rendered the required services, you will account to your instructing attorneys. You will send them a statement of account where you have given instructions to another attorney. That attorney will render legal services on your behalf, and after having rendered legal services on your behalf, that attorney will account to you. That attorney will prepare a statement of account and send to you so that you can see what they have done in your matter. Do I make sense up to now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So correspondent accounts are divided into 2. Receiving instructions and giving instructions. How do we handle this? The same way we have been doing from Monday the 13th. There's nothing complicated here. We are going to do or treat these the same way that we treated the other exercises from Monday. Please go to the exercises sent to you and let us treat exercise number 1 on the exercises on correspondent accounts, which had to be dealt with on the 14th.
Before we get there, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to check the correspondence lawyers.
Yes.
You indicate that they have to give you what, a statement of accounts.
Yes.
With regard to the work that they would have done for you.
Yes.
So that means this effectively that they are now doing your job.
Yes, because you are far away.
Oh, okay.
They are nearby.
Okay. And then they account to you.
They account to you.
Okay. No, thanks, Adam.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
Sorry, sir, did you say this applies to civil or criminal matter?
Civil.
Civil only.
Yes.
Thank you.
Remember, in criminal, you can rock up at court anytime. You can drive all the way to Durban from the province of Limpopo. You rock up there, you introduce yourself that day, and you do your matter. But in civil proceedings, the situation is different. In civil proceedings, we have a lot of paperwork. If it's motion proceedings, you obviously will start with your application, your notice of motion, supported by affidavits. So if it's action proceedings, you will start with your summons. So on the summons, the address must appear. If you act for the defendant, on the notice of intention to defend, the address must appear. If you are acting for the applicant in motion proceedings, your address must appear on the notice of motion. If you act for the respondent, your address must appear on the notice to oppose. So if you are far away, you will appoint a correspondent whose addresses will appear there. Let's say, for example, my practice is known as Magabe Incorporated. I'll write Magabe Incorporated, and below that I'll write care of, then write the names of my correspondent attorneys. Care of Zike Zike Incorporated, and then record the addresses which are within 15 kilometers from the courthouse. All right, let us illustrate this. Let us illustrate this by dealing with exercise 1 on receiving instructions. Are you there?
Yes.
Right. Let's read this exercise 1. You receive instructions from Nyamsoro attorneys to recover 5,000 from Shidelo, a debtor, on behalf of their client, Masedi. In the process, you attend to the following transactions. Number 1, you pay tracing agent 100. Is this new to you? Have you not paid a disbursement before?
Yes, we have.
Number 2, you issue summons debiting 300. Is this new to you? Have you not issued summons before and debited a fee?
We have.
It's not
It was
new.
rendered. Yes, we have.
3,
It's rendered.
3, you paid sheriff 100 and not so. Number 4, the debtor pays 3,000. You are receiving money. Have you not received money before?
We did.
Right. Now let's listen to what you are required to do. Please record the above transactions in your books of account. Transfer what you are entitled to from the trust account to the business account and account fully to your instructing attorneys by preparing a statement of account. Is this instruction clear?
Yes.
Right.
Is your screen showing?
And B, please make provision for VAT at the current rate. Is this new to you?
No.
No, it's not new.
The usual 1/3 allowance is applicable on fees and VAT. The usual 1/3 allowance is applicable on fees and VAT. This is also not new. Only the name sounds new. But we dealt with these yesterday. Bongi? Hi, Bongi. Your hand is up.
Yes, advocates, good evening. Are you not sharing your screen today?
I'm going to share your screen when we work it out, when we write the answers.
Okay.
Now I'm reading this exercise 1, which you also have. Bongi?
Advocate, may I then please have the page number, please? Sorry, I just joined.
You just joined.
Yes.
Go to the exercises sent to you. Exercise number 1 on correspondent accounts.
Page 2.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Right. So let us analyze what is happening here. Is this receiving instructions or giving instructions?
It's receiving instructions, sir.
It's receiving instructions. Who is our instructing attorney?
Nyamsoro, sir.
Right. How much are we required to recover?
5,000 rand.
Who is the debtor?
Chijelo.
Hello.
Right. And who's the creditor?
Masedi.
Masedi. What are we required to do? We are required to record these transactions in our books of account, transfer what we are entitled to from the trust account to the business account, and to account fully to the instructing attorneys by preparing a statement of account. We are also advised to make provision for VAT at the current rate. And what is the current rate?
15%, sir. 15%.
15%. We are also told that we need to give an allowance to the instructing attorney. Let me explain this allowance here. An allowance is simply a discount that you are giving to the instructing attorney. We gave a discount yesterday to client, not so. So in correspondent accounts, you will also find instances where you are told to give an allowance to the correspondent or to the instructing attorney. So you must know that an allowance is simply a discount. You'll work it out the same way that you record a discount. So discounts as between attorneys are regulated. Discounts or allowances are regulated. Attorneys may agree on giving each other allowances of between 0 and 1/3. So 1/3 is the maximum that is allowed to give an allowance. You cannot go beyond 1/3. Is it making sense? You can decide not to give an allowance at all. You may decide or agree to give an allowance at 10%, 20%, 30%, but you cannot go beyond 1/3 of the fees. The maximum is 1/3. Is it making sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. Thank you. Let us now proceed to record this transaction. Let us record this transaction. We now know what we are expected to do here. We know what we are expected to do, and we are going to do exactly that. We're going to do exactly that. Right. Let's start with number 1. You pay tracing agent 100. What is this?
Fees.
What is this?
Non-banking transaction.
Expenses.
Right. What did I say you must do before you pay a disbursement?
See if you've got enough money in.
Check if you've got enough money in trust. If you do, you pay from trust. If you don't, you pay from business. In our case here, from which account do we pay this disbursement?
Business account.
Business account.
Why?
No money in the trust.
No money in trust. So we will open our business cash book, not so.
Yes, sir.
Business cash book. Debit or credit?
We credit it, sir.
And what do we say?
Pay tracing agent.
Paid tracing agent. How much?
100.
Plus VAT or inclusive, it doesn't tell us, but we've got to include VAT.
We just pay 100 rand. That we will make provision for when we write our fees. So from here, where do we go?
Ledger.
Let's open an account.
Open an account for?
Tracing agent.
The tracing agent.
No.
No, for the
Remember what I said to you yesterday.
No, we can't open account for a tracing agent because a tracing agent is not in your books.
Namsoro attorneys business account.
Namsoro attorneys.
Yes.
The correspondent.
Yes. Nyamsoro attorneys in business. Debit or credit?
We debit, sir.
Debit.
We debit. Our narration will be?
Business cash book.
How much?
100 rand.
100.
So we are done with number 1, not so. Please remember that you do not open a new account when you are using clients' money. The only time you will open a new account is when you are investing. Do you follow? Right, let's go to 2. You issue summons debiting 300. Where do you go?
BizBank.
Business.
Where do you go?
Business cash book.
Business cash book.
For what now?
Fees journal.
Fees journal.
Fees journal.
No, you're paying it.
You issue summons.
It doesn't say
You are
pay.
rendering a service.
Yes, you take it to. What do we do yesterday? Yeah, in the journal, sir.
Yes. And what do we say there?
Issue summons.
Yamsoro attorneys is and VAT. The same way we dealt with this yesterday. We write fees the same way. How much is the fees? How much is the fee?
300.
300. We credit fees always. How much is the VAT?
15%, so that's 300 times.
45.
75.
45. Debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit VAT. And then fees plus VAT?
345.
Debit or credit?
Debit.
Debit who?
Yamsoro attorneys in business.
Nyamsoro attorneys. And then we narrate. What do we say?
Fees plus VAT.
Yes, summons fees plus VAT. At what rate?
At 15%.
15%.
At 15%. Summons fees plus VAT at 15%.
Please mute your mic.
Right. From here, where do we go?
We post it to the
We
ledger.
do the service.
Which ledgers are we posting to?
General ledger.
Business or trust?
Go business, sir. The business.
Business. So on Nyamsoro in business, do we debit or do we credit?
We credit, sir.
Debit.
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 We debit. Narration. What is the narration?
Fees plus VAT.
What else do we do?
Go to the business cash book, I think.
Open
Ledger.
account for fees.
Go to
Fees
that
ledger.
and fees, yeah.
Open an account for fees, not so.
Yes.
Yes.
As well as
VAT
VAT.
output.
VAT.
A VAT account.
VAT,
Output.
VAT output. What do we do on fees? Do we debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit. Narration.
Credit.
Nyamsoro attorneys.
How much?
300.
300.
300.
And on VAT?
45.
And narration is
Nyamsoro attorneys.
Nyamsoro. Tennis. How much on VAT?
45.
5. So this way we have written our summons fees, not so. What else do we do?
Pay the sheriff.
We open the transfer journal.
Yes.
No.
No.
Go back to the NB. What does the NB say?
Or give a discount.
Yes.
Yes.
And where do we record this discount?
In the fees journal.
Fees journal. How do we record it? The same way we did last night.
Fees.
Is
VAT.
VAT.
And Nyamsoro.
Fees, VAT, and Nyamsoro.
Sorry, so did you say that we should give a discount? Or did it specify that we should give a discount or?
The NB. On the question, on exercise 1.
Talks about allowance.
Yes, and we said the allowance is a discount.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
How much is the allowance on fees?
100.
1/3.
100.
Yeah.
It's
Third
100.
of- It's 100. Debit or credit, the fees?
Debit.
Debit. VAT?
15. Rand.
15
rand.
Debit or credit?
Debit.
Debit 15. Nyamsoro attorneys?
115.
115.
Credit.
Debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit.
Narration?
Summons, allowance.
1/3
Allowance plus
allowance.
fee and VAT.
30% discount.
1/3 allowance.
Allowance fee plus VAT.
Yes. Do you follow? One-third allowance on summons fees plus VAT at 15%. From here, where do we go?
Business ledger.
We post to business ledgers. On the fees account, what do we do?
Debit.
Debit.
Debit. And our narration is?
Nyamsoro attorneys.
How much?
115 rand.
100.
100.
On VAT?
15.
15.
Narration?
Nyansoro attorneys.
How much? 15.
15.
Yes.
Nyamsoro attorneys, debit or credit?
Credit.
Narration?
1/3 allowance.
1/3 allowance.
How much?
115.
115.
115.
115.
Right. So we have written our discount, not so. We've written both fees and allowance on fees. So do you see that when you write fees and also have to give a discount or an allowance, there are a number of things you must do. You will start at the fees journal and record the fees and VAT, and then post to business ledgers. After that, you immediately go back to the fees journal and record the allowance.
Excuse me, Prof.
Yes.
What is the difference between Nyamsoro attorneys in business and business cash book?
The difference is that the business cash book records the money that comes in and that goes out of your account. This is a book of prime entry, whereas Nyamsoro in business is simply a ledger. It is not different from an account of any of your clients. In fact, Nyamsoro attorneys should be treated as a client for now, because you are rendering services for them or on their behalf. I'm not sure if that clarifies you.
Clarified.
Thank you. Can we go to number 3? You paid sheriff 100. Where do you go?
First, the business.
Business cash book.
Debit or credit?
You credit.
Credit.
Credit because money is going out. Paid sheriff. How much?
100 rand.
100 rand. Is that all you do?
Go to the fees journal.
You love going to the fees journal, eh?
Ledger.
Ledger.
You go to the ledger. Which ledger?
Nyamsoro.
Debit or credit?
You debit.
Debit.
And our narration is? What is our narration?
Business cash book.
And the amount is?
100.
100. Then we go to number 4. Do you see that with disbursements, you don't do much? Let's go to number 4. The debtor pays 3,000. Where do we go?
You debit. Debit. Business cash book.
Business cash book.
Why?
Cash book.
Because we are receiving
Because it's money
No,
coming
no.
in.
I think we open an account, a trust account for Nyamsoro.
This is a trust money.
Yes.
Yes.
That's cash.
Not our money. The debt does not belong to us.
We open a trust.
We are doing a case on behalf of the correspondent or on behalf of the instructing attorney. Right. So,
okay.
So let's open an account, the trust cash book. The trust cash book. We debit or credit?
Debit. Debit.
Debit. It will say here on the debit side, Nyamsoro attorneys. We are receiving this money from the debtor, but we know that this money actually belongs to the correspondent's client. Not so.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So we will debit the trust cash book and indicate that it's Nyamsoro.
Yes.
And then open another account for
Nyamsoro in trust.
Nyamsoro in trust.
Yes, Nyamsoro attorneys in trust. Do we debit this account or credit it?
Credit.
We credit. And our narration is
Trust cash book.
trust cash book. How much?
3,000.
3,000.
3,000.
Sir, can I ask, what would be the distinguishing factor between fees and disbursements? Would it be the fact that the instructions say you pay and you see that as a disbursement, as opposed to you issue being something you need to record under fees?
Yes, when they say you issue, you know that you are rendering a service. For as long as you are rendering a service, then it's a fee. You are charging, you must go to the fees journal. But with disbursements, you go to the cash book. Any question?
Thank you.
All right, so the debtor has paid 3,000 and we have recorded it. Does it mean we have concluded our transaction?
No.
No.
In your examinations, a question like this carries about 30 marks. Right, you have just collected a debt. As an attorney, you are entitled to a fee for having collected a debt. And that fee is called collection commission. Collection commission is charged at 10% of the debt you have collected, or 10% of the collected amount, provided that it does not exceed the maximum allowed. The maximum allowed at the moment is 1,500. So when determining the 10% of the collected amount, you must also check that it does not exceed the maximum allowed. Where the 10% exceeds 1.5, you limit yourself to 1,500. You don't take more than that. In our case here, how much is...
Sorry, Prof.
Yes.
Yeah, please repeat what you just explained now.
I beg your pardon?
Please kindly repeat what you just explained.
All right,
about the
yes.
collective amount.
I'm saying to you that as an attorney, you are entitled to a fee for having collected a debt. And that fee is called collection commission. That fee is called collection commission. It is charged at 10% of the amount you have collected, provided that it does not exceed the maximum allowed. The maximum allowed at present is 1,500. So if you charge collection commission, you need to ensure that it does not exceed the maximum. If it exceeds, you must limit yourself to the maximum. In our case here, how much is our collection commission going to be?
300.
300.
300. It's 10% of 3,000. So because it is a fee, it must be recorded on the
Journal. Fees journal.
Credit
So
side.
yes, we'll go to the fees journal and say Nyamsoro, attorneys, fees and VAT. How much is our fee?
300.
300. Debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit. And our VAT?
45.
45. Debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit. Fees plus VAT?
45.
5. Debit or credit?
Debit.
Debit. And our narration will be?
Collection commission.
Yes.
Collection
Collection commission
plus VAT.
plus VAT at 15%. %10 collection commission plus VAT at 15%. Where do we go from here?
Ledgers.
We post to ledgers. Nyamsoro attorneys in business, do we debit or credit?
We credit.
Debit.
We debit. Remember that when you post transactions from a journal to ledgers, we do not change anything. What is debited remains debited, and what is credited remains credited. Our narration will be
Fees plus VAT. Or do we
VAT.
put collection commission?
Yes. And on the fees account, do we debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit.
Credit. Narration. I'm so against. The VAT account.
Credit.
Credit. Narration.
Nyamsoro attorneys.
And the amount is
45.
45. So this way you have written 10% collection commission. But do you end there?
No.
No. What else do you do?
Discount.
Discount. Where do you record this?
Fees journal.
On the fees journal.
Fees journal.
And we'll say here fees, VAT, and Nyamsoro attorneys. On fees, how much do we debit?
10% of one. So
100.
10 rand.
100.
10%.
10% is for collection commission. Here we are charging, or we are debiting 1/3. And on the VAT, it's how much?
15 rand.
50. Debit or credit?
Debit.
Debit. And on Nyamsoro?
We credit 115.
We credit 115. And our narration will be?
1/3 on collection fees and plus VAT.
Yes. 1/3 allowance on collection commission plus VAT at 15%. Is it all?
Go to the ledger.
Ledger.
We post to ledgers. Business or trust ledgers?
Business ledger.
Business. And then on fees, do we debit or credit?
Debit.
Narration.
Sorrow attorneys.
And the amount is?
100.
100. What else do we do? VAT.
Debit.
Debit. Narration.
Sorrow attorneys. 15.
Attorneys.
And the amount is?
100.
On VAT?
15.
15. And then on Nyamsoro, attorneys in business, debit or credit?
Credit, 1/3 allowance.
115.
Narration?
1/3 allowance.
1/3 allowance. And the amount is?
115.
115.
11.
Your narration on Nyamsoro attorneys in business on the credit side is 1/3 allowance, not so?
Yeah.
It is.
Right. Are we done with the transaction now? Can we say that we are done with the transaction?
No.
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 What is left?
We have received a collection commission, which means that you need to consult the business cash book.
In respect of the collection commission only. What about the other fees that are due to us? Are we only interested in the collection commission?
We haven't received the money yet.
Yes. From where?
From the debtor.
No, the debtor paid 3,000.
From the trust account, we need to transfer, make a transfer journal to move money from the trust to the business account.
Right. What did I say are the two things you must do before you transfer?
Check if the money is.
Check if it's enough money.
Check how much is due to you first, not so?
Yes, it is.
Because you need to know how much you want. So you first establish how much is due to you. by going to the client's account in business. And in this case, your client is the instructing attorney, not so?
Yes.
Yamsoro attorneys in business. Please determine that account. Tell me how much is due to you before we go to the second leg of checking whether or not it is available.
660.
Yeah, it's 660.
616.
Hello.
Yeah, sure. Sikhona.
Hey.
Tata.
Did you
Tata.
guys see that Sir went and switched off his mic? Maybe it's by mistake. He didn't realize it, eh?
No, I think he's taking a break while we were doing the calculation.
All right. Guys, please someone assist me with the 660 that you are getting.
Yeah, me too, same size.
Is that debit minus the credit side? Or did they just use the total of the debit side? Minette, can you please answer?
You add then
Fees.
I don't know how they calculated it. I think it's debit minus the credit.
you go to Nyamshoro.
Fees.
Attorneys in business, you add on the debit and minus
Can
the credit.
It isn't it debit minus credit, or is it credit minus debit?
It's the fees on credits.
Debit minus credit. That's how you do it.
Oh, go to the... Okay.
So you take whichever one has the highest amount.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not a general rule that you must say debit minus credit. You just look for the one that has the most money.
Yeah, you just take a balancing
You
figure.
you can go.
Oh.
You can go the
That
deficit.
means that you're in deficit.
That's fine. Yes, fine. It's the same thing. Right. Let's proceed. This is how you determine what is due to you, as discussed from Monday. You go to your client's account in business. You add all the amounts on the debit side. You get the total of the debit side and minus the credit side. Can we work it out? So you will say 100 plus 345 plus 100 plus 345. This will give you 890 minus 115 minus 115. How much does it give you?
660.
660. Does everyone get this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So this is what is due to you. 660. This is what is due to you. Now, then the second leg is for you to check if this 660 is available in the trust account? In other words, is it possible for you to transfer? Here is the position in trust. Do we have sufficient funds in the trust account?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
How much?
Yes.
3,000.
Is 3,000 higher than 660?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Then we can transfer. And what book do we use to transfer?
Yeah,
Transfer journal.
Transfer journal.
Transfer journal. From whose account in trust to whose account in business are we transferring value?
I'm sorry.
Nyomsoro in
From
trust.
Nyamsoro to FM.
So to our trust business.
From Nyamsoro in trust to Nyamsoro in business. How much?
660.
660. And our narration is
Transfer funds.
transfer of
Fees.
Fees plus VAT.
yes.
15%. Oh, and disbursements.
Transfer of fees, VAT, and disbursements. Do you follow?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Sir, I want to ask a question.
Yes.
Yeah, my question relates to the collection fee. Now
Yes.
you've given us a principle that we collect 10% of the collected amount.
Yes.
Or the maximum fee, which is 1.5. So I
Not
want
all,
to ask in a
not
situation.
all. Not all.
Mm-hmm.
Not all. Satan, do you get me?
Yes, maybe you can clarify it. I thought it's 10% of the maximum fee, but if the maximum if that 10% if the 10% exceeds 1.5, then we take 1.5.
Yes.
We're not finished.
So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
10%
If you type
of
what you take,
the collected amount,
you can drive me.
provided that it does not exceed
Switch off your mics, guys.
the maximum allowed.
You know why the water's that color?
No.
Because I put a new
Mute, guys.
valve and I
Lizette,
oiled it.
Lizette, please switch off your mic.
I think
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
Gloria.
Yeah.
Please switch off the mic.
It's the oil. That color's the oil.
Are we now talking about oils?
I'll have to fix it tomorrow.
Are you fixing us tomorrow? Right, we have recorded on the transfer journal. From here, where do we go?
The business cash book.
Business.
To the trust ledger.
We post to ledgers.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Prof,
sir.
we didn't hear your answer when you were answering this guy. Can you please repeat that?
Which guy?
What was you asking about the collection fee?
Alphonse was asking.
Okay, we said that collection commission is charged at 10% of the collected amount, provided that it must not exceed the maximum allowed. The maximum allowed is 1,500. So if 10% of the collected amount is in excess of the maximum, you take 1,500. But if it is below that, you take the 10%. In our case here, our collection commission was 300, and it was not in excess of the maximum allowed, so we took the 10%. We are now transferring, and we've recorded on the transfer journal. We've debited Nyamsoro attorneys in trust and credited Nyamsoro attorneys in business.
Why?
Because we are moving value from Nyamsoro in trust to Nyamsoro in business. Remember that Nyamsoro attorneys in business owe us money. In business, we say Nyamsoro attorneys is a debtor, but in trust is a creditor because there's money standing to the credit of Nyamsoro attorneys. So we need to take out 660 from this 3,000 to pay the debt that is in business. So now we must post to ledgers after recording on the transfer journal. And you'll remember that when we post transactions from a journal to ledgers, we do not change anything. What is debited remains debited, and what is credited remains credited. What do we do with Nyamsoro attorneys in trust on the ledger? Do we debit or credit?
We debit.
We debit. And our narration will be
Nyamsoro in business.
how much? And then we go to Nyamsoro attorneys in business, not so. Because we now debited Nyamsoro attorneys in trust, and our narration is Nyamsoro attorneys in business, and the amount is 660. So we must go to Nyamsoro attorneys in business to do what? To debit or credit there?
Credit.
Credit.
So credit. And our narration will be?
Nyamsoro in trust.
Yes. Nyamsoro attorneys in trust.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, 660.
Are you crediting because it was credited in the fee journal?
Yeah, in the transfer journal.
Now, does this money go into the business account or where does it go to after here?
Do you get it, sir? We are crediting because it was credited in the transfer journal.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we do the...
Sir?
Yes.
Sorry to interject you. I lost network as I was asking the question. I'm not sure if I can go on and ask the question.
Okay.
Yeah, I was saying. So in the event, let's assume that our data owes about 50,000.
Yes.
And then the arrangement is that it will pay maybe after 2 months, meaning 25,000, 25,000. Now, if we then look at that principle, my question is, because obviously we would have a charge, the first collection of 25,000, we would take about 1.5 because it's the maximum. I just want to check because it's the same debt. When this person pays for the second time, are we entitled to the second 1.5 or are we covered by the 1.5 that we collected in the first month?
Each time you collect, you are charging for collecting.
Okay.
For collecting. So each time you collect, you charge collection commission.
Okay. No, thank you very much.
Sure. So now we finalize our transfer process by taking money out of the trust account to the business account. And how do we do that? So we'll go to the trust cash book and credit, not so. And we will say transfer to business. How much?
660.
And then we go to the business cash book to receive it. Do we debit or credit by receiving?
Debit. We debit.
We debit. And our narration is?
Trust.
Transfer, trust.
Extra cash book.
How much?
660.
660. So this way, we have transferred. We now have the funds in our business account. Now let us check our...
Prof.
Yes.
Might have forgotten why we say extra cash book. Please remind me again.
The extra cash book.
Yes, the narration X.
X. It simply means from. From the trust cash book.
Oh, from. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
So let us check our books. Let us check our books of account with the business. Yes.
Advocate, could you please repeat the entire step of transferring? I think I got lost somewhere there.
Okay. In transferring, we first determined how much is due to us by going to Nyamsoro attorneys in business. We added the amounts on the debit side and subtracted the credit side. We got 660, being an amount that is due to us. We then went to trust to check if there are funds in the trust account sufficient for us to transfer. And we found that in trust, there's 3,000. And then we asked whether 3,000 was sufficient for us to transfer 660 from or not. And the answer was 3,000 is sufficient to cover 660. We then went to the transfer journal to record this transfer. And because we will be transferring from Nyamsoro attorneys in trust, we debit Nyamsoro Attorneys in Trust on the transfer journal. And then we credit Nyamsoro Attorneys in Business. And our narration is transfer of fees, VAT, and disbursements. From here, we remember the principle that says, after using a journal, post to ledgers. And this is why we came to Nyamsoro Attorneys in Trust to debit. And why did we debit? We debited because this account on the journal also bears a debit entry. Then we credited Nyamsoro Attorneys in Business on the ledger. And the reason we credited is simply because this account has been credited on the journal. From there, we then dealt with the money step. We came to the trust cash book and moved money in the sum of 660 from the trust cash book to the business cash book. This is why we credited the trust cash book. And then we debited the business cash book with a narration X trust cash book. By debiting the business cash book, we are actually receiving money in the sum of 660. So this is where we are now with this transaction.
Prof, do we have a step-by-step?
Thank you.
Do we have a step-by-step process somewhere in the book on the corresponding account? Because clearly, I think from this class, I will need to listen to your audio and I will need to make a reference, because from the answers, it's clear everything is posted, but now I will need to know the step-by-step, exactly how you just explained now, for point of reference.
The step-by-step is what is provided for in the question itself. You simply follow the question. You know that once you have written fees, once you are done writing your fees, the next thing that comes is for you to transfer from the trust account to the business account. Where you have steps to follow, it is in respect of giving instructions, correspondent accounts. But that is what we will deal with later, where you need to follow 6 steps. But here, you deal with the transactions as they occur.
Prof, may I ask a question?
Yes.
I see in my business cash book,
Yes.
there is a tracing agent of 100 rands and a sheriff amount of 100 rand.
Yes.
Who is responsible for those? Because it means at the end of the day, I'll be benefiting 460 if I remove those 2.
Yes.
So that means I've done all this work and my profit or my income is 460 rands.
Yes, because you charged fees only twice. Do you remember? Go to Nyamsoro Attorneys in Business. Are you there?
Yes.
Sir,
That's
hello.
Do you see Tatan? Nyamsoro Attorneys in Business, are you there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. You've written fees only twice. Do you see?
No.
Look at the debit side. Fees plus VAT, fees plus VAT. Do you see, sir?
Noted, thank you.
Right. So you also gave discounts
I'm sorry.
only twice.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Is it possible, I'm totally lost for the first time in your lectures. Is it possible sometime that you could do a similar exercise for us?
Yeah.
I would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Prof, I've got a
Hi,
question.
sir.
Yes.
Prof. I think just in addition to what there's a lady who asked whether we've got a step by step. I just want to add on that, Prof. Because sometimes we get lost when we say after doing this, we go back to this and go back to. I think those are the steps she was referring to. Because otherwise we'll get stuck to say after having posted here, you go back to this journal, you go back to this. This is, those kind of things. Those steps.
But remember that this is what we discussed throughout, that when you write fees, you make use of a journal. After a journal, you post to ledgers all the time. And if you look at this exercise, you will actually see that it is the same thing that we were doing from Monday. There's nothing that is new here. So you must not confuse yourself and think that you need certain steps for you to memorize. The only time you will need steps is when you are dealing with correspondent accounts giving instructions, because that one you cannot answer without following the steps. But this one, you deal with the transactions as they come. For example, if number one says you pay tracing agent, you know it's a disbursement, not so. You credit the cash book and debit the client. Number two, they say you issue summons debiting 300. It's a fee. Where do you record fees? On the fees journal. And after using a journal, you will post to ledgers. Do you follow, Tata? Unless the challenge is that due to network, you sometimes are in, sometimes you are out. But if you are following throughout, it should not be a mountain. Can we move and finalize this exercise?
Yes, we can move, sir.
Yes, let's finalize this exercise.
How many types of journals journals do you get? Is it only the transfer journal and the fees journal?
On this exercise, yes.
Okay. And then your ledgers, sorry, I'm just trying to, journals, there's only two. Ledgers is only for clients or for an investment.
On which exercise? In bookkeeping in general or on this exercise?
No, on both the exercises we did today and yesterday. It seems that the ledgers are only for investments and clients.
Yeah, but remember that you don't need to memorize that. You need to understand and master the principle. What is important for you to know is what you need to do when what happens. Do you follow?
I do follow, Prof, but like a disbursement, that sheriff, like the sheriff and those people aren't your clients. So that's how I remember they don't have a ledger.
Yes, you don't open for them.
So for me, a ledger is only for an investment or a client.
Yes.
Not a disbursement.
I get where you are going now.
And then I've got, so you've got a journal, there's two. There's a ledger for clients and investment, and then there's two cash books, a business and a trust cash book.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Prof.
You're welcome. All right, let's finalize this exercise. When you go to your trust set of books, do you see that you still have some money there in the trust account?
Yes.
How much?
2,340.
2340.
Yes.
Whose money is this?
The
Instruction,
man.
so the instruction attorney.
Nyamsoro.
It's
for the client itself.
Yes, it belongs to Nyamsoro attorney's client, not so.
Can I say the instruction attorney?
Yes, the instructing attorney's client, yes. So what do we do with this money?
That is the client itself.
Shouldn't we be paying it to them?
Yes,
so
we
they can
should.
see what to do with it. We're done with our work, not so?
Yes, we are.
So how do we pay them?
Transfer it.
We take from the trust to their business.
Yes, we credit the trust cash book. And what do we say?
EFT.
Paid Nyamsoro attorneys.
Sir, can I just ask a question?
Yes.
I'm a bit concerned about a bit confused because we were supposed to obtain a collection commission, and that hasn't been made allowance for that. Is there a reason for it?
Did we not make allowance for it? We did.
Is that part of the fee?
Look at the fees journal.
Oh, I can see. Thank you, sir.
Sure. So we are paying the instructing attorneys by crediting the trust cash book. And we say paid Nyamsoro attorneys 2,340. What else do we do? What else do we do?
Debit Nyamsoro attorneys in trust.
Debit Nyamsoro attorneys in trust. And we say trust cash book.
And the amount is?
Mm. 2340.
340.
Same amount.
So this account you can also close. Do you get me?
Prof, shouldn't we record it in the journal first?
No. We pay direct.
Okay.
Only transfer goes to journal.
Because here you are not transferring from trust to business or from business to trust. It's going out.
Okay.
So if you were writing out of 30, you now have 25 marks. Just for recording these little things here. Can we collect the remaining marks?
Yes. By balancing all the accounts.
About that. Prof, sorry, I want to ask, do we pay the Nyamsoro attorneys from the trust account directly?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
How did we get to the 2,340 from us?
You minus 660 from 3,000.
660 that they're owing us.
You see on Nyamsoro interest, when you add 660 and 2340, it gives the 3,000. It balances.
Hello.
Load shedding there.
Right, I am back. I'm sorry, I was off due to load shedding. Are we back together now?
are
Yes,
back.
Yes, we
here,
are.
Prof.
and we are back, and we are wondering if we not going to take comfort break.
We are taking it immediately after this statement of account.
Okay, thank you, Advocate.
Right. Yes, a statement of account. What was the first item that happened, or the first thing that happened in this matter?
We paid the tracing agent.
We paid tracing agent. Now tell me, when we paid the tracing agent, what did we do to the instructing attorney's account? Did we debit it or did we credit it?
Debit it.
We
We
credited
it.
it.
We
debited
debited the correspondence account, not so.
Yes, and yes,
Not
sir.
the cash book, not the cash book, but the correspondence account. Remember that we are accounting to the correspondent now. We are accounting to the instructing attorney. So we concentrate on their ledgers. The next thing that happened was, what happened next after payment of the tracing agent?
Issued summons.
We issued summons. When we charged the correspondent, what did we do to their account? Did we debit or credit their account?
We debited.
We debited, and the summons fee was how much? 300, not so.
345.
Yeah, but the fee only, how much is it?
300.
300.
300.
Right. Then we gave an allowance, not so.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How much is allowance on 300?
100.
100. So we credit the allowance. Do you follow? And then we record VAT. At what rate?
At 15%.
How much is it?
45.
45. Do we debit or credit?
We credit.
We debit.
That is credit.
Yes, but what did we do to the correspondence account when we were charging the VAT?
We added it to the allowance.
To the 300.
Yes, to the 300.
And then allowance on the VAT, how much is it?
15.
15.
15. Debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit.
What else?
The sheriff.
We
paid the sheriff.
We paid the sheriff.
100 rand.
Right. Debit or credit?
Credit.
Credit.
Concentrate on the client's account.
On the client's account, you debit, sir.
Yes. You are accounting to your client, the correspondent or the instructing attorney. So you concentrate on their ledgers. You are actually interpreting the ledgers to them. After payment of the sheriff, what else did we do?
And then we received
lots of money.
Yes, we received
Yes.
1,000.
By cash. By cash, how much?
Plus 3,000.
What else?
We took our 10%.
Yes,
Okay.
10% collection commission.
Yes.
How much was the 10% collection commission?
300.
300. Do we debit or credit it?
Debit.
Debit.
Credit. Yeah?
Debit.
Credit.
Credit. Because
300.
it's. Yeah?
What
Debit.
else? Yes. What else?
We debit, we're
Next.
receiving the money. We debit.
The allowance on the commission.
Yes.
And then the allowance, which was
Yeah.
660.
Which was
100.
100. We credit. And then VAT on the collection commission?
45 rands.
45.
Debit or credit?
Debit and credit 15.
Debit. And then 1/3 allowance? How much is the allowance on VAT?
We credited.
15.
15 we credit. What else?
EFT. We didn't, no.
Right. So ask yourself this. Between the debit side and the credit side, which one has a higher value than the other?
Credit side.
Credit side.
Credit.
Credit side.
Yes.
With how much?
3,230.
Are they not equal?
They are not.
No.
Compare them.
I think it's 3,020.
3,230.
3,230 and the other one is 890 on the debit side.
Right. So credit side minus debit side, what do you get?
2340.
How much?
2340.
Then you say to EFT. Have you seen this somewhere? This 2340, is it the first time you see it?
No.
Where else did you see it?
Is the money we got after taking our money, the 660. That is
So it means, yes. So it means your accounts are in order.
For the fact that we are confused, it means you're doing your work, sir.
I think it's time for a break.
All right, we can break.
I'm worried about
Let's
the
come
marks.
back at the right time, at 20 past.
Also, the statement of account is
20
5
past.
marks.
Thank you very much,
Fine, let's
Prof.
come back at 25 past 7.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Prof. We're
Can we
enjoying
come
the
back at
lecture.
1/2 past, bro?
Thank you.
Is that first? Are we coming back at the first?
25 past.
Okay, thanks.
Ziyabuya, move. Hey.
Oh God.
Today is hectic.
Account.
Hey, Colin.
It's hectic today.
Yes, yes. This is the most challenging. Everyone there?
Are we back?
Are we back?
Right. Is everybody back?
Yes, sir.
Please, let's proceed. So we are done with this exercise on receiving instructions. So this is how an exercise on receiving instructions is dealt with. But sometimes it may be brought to you in a different way. Sometimes it may be brought to you in a different way. It sometimes may say, instead of you receive instructions from your correspondent, it may simply say, you send the following statement to your correspondent. You send the following statement to your correspondent. And they depict the statement and then require you to record the contents of the statement in your books of account and account fully to the correspondent. Or sometimes it may not even be necessary for you to account because they are giving you a statement already. In such a case, you simply look at the statement given to you and record backwards. Let's say they simply bring out this statement here and they say to you, you send the following statement to your correspondent. Please record the contents of the statement in your books of account and transfer what you are entitled to from the trust account to the business account. Will you know what type of correspondent account this is? Will you know?
Instructed.
Please talk to me.
Instructed.
Yes, it's receiving instructions. So it's receiving instructions. And the reason you say that it is receiving instructions is because you are the one who is sending a statement. You drafted this statement of account. It is a statement that you produced. And because you produced this statement, it means you are the one who did the work. You are the one who did the work. So it is receiving instructions. When you find a question like this, please do not panic. Simply deal with it as it appears. Whatever the statement starts with, start with it as well. For instance, our statement here says on number 1, paid tracing agent, 100. It's debited. What will you do in your books of account when you record this? With this, they're actually trying to say to you, show us how you arrived at this statement.
You credit.
You credit
your bank account.
You credit the business cash book, not so. You credit the business cash book and debit your correspondent in business. And if on the next item it is said summons fees 300 debited, and the next item speaks about an allowance, the next one speaking about VAT, and number 5 also speaking about an allowance, what do these mean to you?
Don't you have to open?
What do these mean to you?
Would it not be
What
that
do you do?
Someone's
fees
Understand?
account,
It's for your
fees
own
journal,
account.
Fees journal.
fees journal.
You'll go to the fees journal. And what will you record on the fees journal?
The fee.
The fees. So you will say on the fees journal, Nyamsoro attorneys, or simply if the name of the correspondent is not mentioned, if the name of the correspondent is not mentioned, you will simply say correspondent, fees, and VAT. Do you follow?
Yes.
And then you credit fees with 300, you credit VAT with 45. You add fees and VAT and get 345, which you debit the correspondent with. You give a narration and then post to relevant ledgers. Do you follow?
Please don't bring this question.
Yes.
to exam.
This is easy.
It's a difficult question.
This one,
This one is
is
the
a bit
easiest.
easier for me. This one is easier.
Yes, this
This is
one
the
is,
easiest.
it is the easiest.
Are you
and
writing
I
or
think,
just explaining?
This is the
yes.
easiest.
And then from here, you go to the next item. In our case here, the next item will be item number 6, not so.
Yes,
Can
sir.
everybody see
Go
this? Yes. And what does item number 6
No,
say?
I cannot see it.
It's
Business.
Sheriff. You
You
pay
can see
Sheriff.
item number 6 on the statement.
Pay Sheriff.
Pay sheriff. What do? There's a debit entry of 100 there.
You credit the cash,
You
business
credit
cash
cash.
book.
You credit the business cash book and you credit the business cash book
Correspondent.
and debit
Debit
the
your
correspondence
Debit the
account
correspondent.
Yes.
in business, yes. And then you move to the next item, being item number 7. What does it say there?
By
By
cash.
cash.
By cash. So it means you are receiving funds there, not so?
Yes. Goes to trust cash
Yes.
debits.
So you debit the trust cash book and credit correspondent in trust.
Yes.
In fact, we should be writing exams on Monday on this day.
Then you go to the next item, item number 8. What does it say?
10% commission collection.
Yes, 10% collection commission. 300, it is debited. What do you do with this?
Goes to fees.
It's a fee, yes.
Okay.
Yes, you
So
debit.
you'll go to the fees journal. Do you see?
Credits.
You credit fees, credit VAT, and debit the correspondent with the fees and the VAT.
And you update your ledgers.
And you update your ledgers, yes.
It's where
And then you also give an allowance, not so? And when giving an allowance, you go back to the fees journal, debit fees, debit VAT, credit correspondent. And post two ledgers. From there, you will realize that you are actually done with the transaction. What you need to do now is to transfer from the trust account to the business account. And you remember the two things I said you must do before you transfer. And what are those?
Check if you have enough money.
How much do they owe you? And if you...
Yes. Determine how much is due to you. That is the first thing. And the second thing is to do what?
Check whether there are sufficient funds.
Check whether there are sufficient funds in the trust account to cover what is due to you. And once you're satisfied that you know how much is due to you and that there are sufficient funds in the trust account to cover what is due to you, you then proceed with the transfer. And which book do you use to record the transfer?
Transfer journal.
The transfer journal. And on the transfer journal, how do you record?
You credit
How
your.
do you record on the transfer?
You're not crediting your trust account. The trust account.
You debit the correspondent in trust and credit the correspondent in business. And your narration will be transfer of fees, VAT, and disbursements. And then you post to relevant ledgers. After the transfer, you then do what? After recording on the transfer journal and posting to relevant ledgers, you then deal with the money step where you credit the trust cash book with the amount that you're transferring from the trust account to the business account, and your narration will be transfer to business cash book. And then go to the business cash book to record on the debit side, because you are now receiving funds into your business account. And your narration on the debit side will be X trust cash book.
May I ask a question when you're done?
Yes, you may. You may ask.
I just want to know, obviously, out of all this exercise, there is an communication between you, the instruction attorney, and the debtor. Who is paying for the communication, like telephone bills and all this? Stationery?
You are obviously talking about fees, not so? If you're talking about fees, the question to ask should be, who did the work? If the correspondent did the work, then the correspondent must be paid. And then the next question is, who benefited from this work done by the correspondent? And the answer will be, your client benefited from the work done by the correspondent. And as such, your client will pay ultimately. And this is why, even in your case here, you will see that from the 3,000 that you collected from the data, you are sending to the instructing attorney only the sum of 2,340. Why are you not sending the whole money? You are not sending the whole money because you have deducted what is due to you. And whose money is this which you collected? It is the correspondent client's money. So by deducting from the collected amount, it means you are making the client pay. You are making the client pay.
So I think the way I understand this question is that if I am instructing another attorney to do a work on behalf of a client, and I'm myself, the instructing attorney, is engaging in some form of communication with respect to the same transaction, who pays for the expenses which I incur?
Your client. I've answered it by saying, when you do all those communications, are you not rendering a service? If you are rendering a service, you are entitled to fees. You will write a fee and your client will pay, because this communication that you are engaged in is meant to benefit your client. But in your situation here, how we bring it to you, we bring it to you as if it's only one attorney doing the work, the correspondent. But in practice, both of you will be working. Sometimes in practice, you will find that although you've appointed a correspondent, the actual drafting is done by you. You do the drafting, you send the draft by email to your correspondent prints out, makes copies, signs, and issues for you. So you've done work, they've also done work. But how we bring it to you when we are conducting lectures, and in your manual as well, is as if the correspondent does everything and you do nothing. But you will know that in practice, both of you will be engaged in the matter. Both you, the instructing attorney, and the instructed attorney or the correspondent attorney.
But sir,
is it making sense, Tatana?
But how do you therefore indicate on your statement of account that I've paid so much for my telephony, I've paid so much for stationery used, or things like those?
You will indicate, because you will be having tariffs in practice. But like I'm saying to you, for the purposes of your bookkeeping here, you should not worry yourself with that. That is a part you will deal with in legal costs. You've got a module called legal costs. That is where you will deal with those in details. But you will have tariffs that you will use for telephone calls, maybe per 5 minutes, per 30 minutes. You will be charging in accordance with those tariffs. You will deal with that in full when you do your legal costs, or have you done it already?
We understand with respect to tariffs and stuff. How do we now bring together the two expenses? Do we have to send it to the instructed attorney to bring it together so that we can make one statement for the client?
No, it won't be one statement. It will be two statements. You will have your own statement. The instructing attorney will also have their own statement. But like I'm saying to you, that you will deal with in legal costs. It falls outside the scope of this work.
Okay.
That falls outside the scope of what we are dealing with. Do you follow?
Yes.
Yes. Remember, in when you'll be dealing with legal costs, you'll have instances where you'll also be drafting statements of account and bills of costs for taxation. There'll be bills for the correspondence. There'll be bills for instructing attorneys. So you'll be dealing with this at that level. But this one does not concern itself with those details. And this is why it is given to you as if only the correspondent is actively involved in the running of the matter.
All right, so thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Can we now go to giving instructions?
Yes, sir. We can move.
Remember, I said to you in giving instructions, you instruct another attorney to do work on your behalf. That attorney will do work on your behalf, and after having done the work, the attorney will account to you. The attorney will account to you by preparing a statement of account. Do you follow? So you will receive a statement of account from the instructed attorney. When you receive the statement of account, you will be expected to record the contents of the statement in your own books of account. You'll be expected to record the contents of the statement in your own books of account. In order for you to be able to properly record the contents of the statement in your books of account, you will need to follow some steps. The steps are 6 in number. And remember that what will make you see that you are dealing with giving instructions is the statement that says you receive the following statement. You receive the following statement from your correspondent. Then you know you are dealing with correspondent accounts giving instructions. And how did we say you will see if it's receiving instructions in the case of a statement? We said it will say you send the following statement. Once it says you send the following statement, then it means you have received instructions, because that is a statement you would have drafted yourself. You would have drafted that statement and you are sending that statement to your correspondent. But when it says you receive the following statement, it means this is a statement of account that comes from your correspondent who did the work. So you did not do the work. So it means you had given instructions to the correspondent. So that will be giving instructions. You follow 6 steps to record the contents of the statement in your books of account. Step number 1, you deal with the EFT amount. You can take any statement on correspondent accounts, even if it is the one that we're dealing with just now. Pretend that it is a statement you have received from your correspondent, just for illustration purposes. In step number 1, you deal with the EFT amount. Where do you find this EFT amount? I've drawn some little notes here. Where do you find this EFT amount, you will find it on the debit side
account
of the statement.
Statement account.
Yes. You'll find it on the statement of account and on the debit side.
Would it always be indicated as EFT? Because I see in one of the assignments or the exercises it says to check herewith.
That's in the past.
Ah, okay.
That's in the past. Today it's EFT. Checks were discontinued on 31 December 2020. So when you find a question or an exercise like that, you must know it was before 31 December 2020. That was in the past. We used to say check herewith. So that has now been repealed. So it's EFT amount. What do you do with this EFT amount? What is it? It's money that you are receiving. And because it is money that you are receiving and which money does not belong to you, you must debit the trust cash book and credit the correspondent in trust. So this is what you do in your step number 1.
Please repeat.
Step number 1, you deal with the EFT amount. This amount appears on the debit side of the statement. It is money that you are receiving, and it is not your money. Take it to the trust cash book, debit the trust cash book, and credit the correspondent in trust. And then you go to step number 2. In step number 2, you deal with the collected amount. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
In step number 2, you deal with the collected amount. The collected amount appears on the credit side of the statement. If you look at that statement, you will see it says buy cash. Do you see? And that amount appears on the credit side. So that is the collected amount. This amount was collected by the correspondent, but it belongs to your client. It was collected by the correspondent, but it belongs to your client. When it was collected by the correspondent, it was money. But now it comes to you simply as value. It comes to you simply as value. It's not money. It's just an amount. So it's not a cash transaction. You're not receiving any money here. And because of that, you will take it to a journal, because that is where you deal with non-cash transactions. And the journal to which you will take this is called trust journal. It's called trust journal. What does a trust journal do? A trust journal records the movement of value from one account to another in trust. A trust journal records the movement of value from one account to another in trust. A trust journal operates like a transfer journal. It operates like a transfer journal. The difference between a trust journal and a transfer journal is that a transfer journal takes from trust to business and vice versa. In other words, a transfer journal takes from business to trust and from trust to business. Whereas a trust journal is limited to trust transactions. A trust journal takes from one account to another in trust. A trust journal does not go to business, but it performs the same function that a transfer journal performs. The only difference is that transfer journal takes from trust to business and from business to trust, whilst a trust journal takes from one account to another in trust. So this is where you will record the collected amount on the trust journal. And how are you going to record this? You will debit the correspondent and credit your client. You will debit the correspondent and credit your client. Why? Why do you debit the correspondent and credit your client? You are crediting your client because it is value belonging to your client. You debit the correspondent because the correspondent collected this, but it is not due to him, or it is not due to them. So you will debit the correspondent and credit the client on the trust journal. And then you will post to relevant trust ledgers. And which trust ledgers will be involved here? The correspondent in trust and the correspondent,
the client.
And the client in trust. The correspondent in trust and the client in trust. And then you go to step number 3. In step number 3, you deal with costs. You deal with costs. Where do you find these costs? You will find the costs on the debit side of the statement. You will find the costs on the debit side of the statement. You add all those amounts on the debit side except the EFT. You add all the amounts on the debit side except the EFT amount, because the EFT amount was already dealt with in step number 1. Then you ask yourself this: what do I do with these costs? Who is liable to pay these costs? And who is entitled to these costs? you will simply answer yourself by asking who did the work and who benefited from the work done. So in answering, you will say the correspondent did the work and the client benefited. So it means the client must pay the costs and the correspondent is entitled to the costs. You will go back to the trust journal to debit the client with the costs, the total, and then credit the correspondent. Debit client and credit correspondent with the costs. After that, you will post to the relevant trust ledgers. You will post to the relevant trust ledgers. Then you go to step number 4. In step number 4, you deal with fees. You deal with fees. You deal with fees. And where do you get these fees? And what are your fees made up of? In correspondent accounts, giving instructions, your fees are made up of the allowances given to you by the correspondent. Your fees are made up of the allowances given to you by the correspondent. Where do you find these? You find these on the credit side. All the amounts appearing on the credit side of the statement except the collected amount. These are fees to which you are entitled. How do you deal with this? You go to a book called Fees Journal. You go to a book called Fees Journal. Record correspondent, fees, and VAT if there was provision made for VAT. Then you will add all allowances on fees and credit the correspondent. Credit the fees. Then add all allowances on VAT and then credit VAT. Then lastly, you will debit the correspondent with the total of the fees and VAT.
Prof,
Your narration, yes.
Yeah, please repeat after you go to Fees Journal.
Yes. You go to the Fees Journal. You go to the Fees Journal. After having determined the allowances given to you by the correspondent, and you will record on the Fees Journal, correspondent, fees, VAT. You add all allowances on fees and then credit the fees account. Add allowances on VAT, and with the total, you credit the VAT account. And then you add fees and VAT, and debit the correspondent with the total of the fees and the VAT, just like we have been doing throughout. And then because you have made use of a journal, you will also have to post to relevant ledgers. And then you go to step number 5. In step number 5, you transfer the fees and VAT and you will do what we always say you do before transferring. The two things: determine how much is due to you, and number 2, check if it is available in the trust account. If you are satisfied that you know what is due to you and that it is available in trust, then you proceed with the transfer. Which book will you use? Transfer journal. Transfer journal. In the transfer journal, how do you record? Debit correspondent in trust and credit correspondent in business. Debit correspondent in trust and credit correspondent in business. And then post to relevant ledgers. After this, you will deal with the money step. You will credit the trust cash book and your narration will be transfer to business cash book, the amount due to you. You record that amount on the credit side of the trust cash book. And then you go to the business cash book and debit. Your narration will be X trust cash book. Then you go to the final step, and that is step number 6. And what does this step entail? Account to client. Account to client. You draw a statement of account to your client. And that is it. When you draw your statement of account to the client, you will draw it as if you attended to the work. You draw it as if no correspondent was involved.
Sorry, sir, can you please move your screen a bit up?
A bit up, like this.
Yes, until step 5, so we can see the rest of the page.
Or until step 5. Now, this is a practical exercise that I put in. It's not part of the ones I gave you to deal with. Do you follow? It's a practical exercise. In fact, yes.
Can we have a look at your notes on go back to the 6, because you're also jotting on. Yeah, thank you. Just for 2 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Sorry, Prof.
Yes.
Are you not going to share this with us?
I may share. If you ask for it, I can share with you.
Please.
Can you also share the answers from today?
Please.
Yeah.
Can you also share the answers from today, please?
The
If you
what?
still have them.
Answers for the exercises.
I'm not sure if I'm hearing you well, sir.
Can you also please share the answers from yesterday?
Oh, yes, I'll share with you. I'll share with you. Yes, I can also share this one with you as well. You will see that there's an exercise that I formulated here, and I also provide a solution to it.
Yeah, at least this will ensure that we pass with flying colors.
Yes. We want these flying colors. Yes.
Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
The scope of this particular module, does it cover the admission exam? Like, is it the same, or are we going to do more for the admission exam?
Okay. Okay. Yes. A beautiful question. A beautiful question. Okay. Let me say this to you. If you pay attention to what I tell you, what we deal with together, you are sure to pass your admission examination in respect of this module. You will remember that this module constitutes an independent paper in the attorney's admission examinations. It's paper 4, it's independent. It is not clubbed with others. So if you pay attention to what we are discussing together, you really also participate, follow up, and do all these. You have a pass in the admission examination. It's the same thing. You may also not even need extra classes. By the way, I just did not mention, I'm also an examiner in respect of the attorney's admission examination. I examine, I mark. So whatever we are doing together here is also applicable in the admission exam. Is it making sense to you? Hello.
Yes.
Wow. Yes, Prof. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, Tatan. We hear you, Tatan.
Yo.
Examiner.
Yes. Yes.
Only if Prof is not gonna laugh like that when he's marking our scripts.
That's true, eh?
So you may have written jokes in your scripts.
It's a long
Have
time I
mercy
haven't
on
had
us.
such a laughter.
Have mercy on us next week when we are writing.
Yes.
Okay, while still on there, are we? Is the Prof going to give us a scope?
Yes, we are writing next week. Please have mercy on us.
Yeah. No, our exams are merciful. Our exams are massive.
Are we getting any scope areas of concentration for the exams?
Everything we are dealing with together is part of your scope, your syllabus, your short questions as well. Yes.
If I sing Nyamsoro and Tatana, I will make it.
Yes.
Prof, may I ask, your exams are your exams open? Prof, may I ask, are your
Yes.
exams open or closed books exams?
Closed books. And these 6 steps we have been singing about here, please know them by heart. Know the 6 steps by heart. All right. May I ask that you deal with exercise number 1 on correspondent accounts, giving instructions on your own, and you bring it to class tomorrow for us to discuss before we deal with conveyancing transactions. Will you do that?
Yes, Prof.
Definitely. Exercise number 1. Yes. Exercise number 1 as a homework. And please bring it tomorrow for discussion in class so that I can see whether you were able to follow the steps correctly or not. So we will start with that.
Exercise number 1
before
on
we
which one?
deal with conveyancing transactions.
Exercise number 1 on which one?
So can you please repeat the homework?
On giving instructions. Remember, you have correspondent accounts, receiving instructions, and giving instructions. So there's an exercise, or there are exercises on receiving instructions, and there are also exercises on giving instructions.
So it's question number 1.
The first one on giving instructions, please treat it on your own at home.
Sir, would you be able to send us the notes before?
Maybe he can
This
scroll
one.
up now. Yes. Can you scroll up? I only see step 1. I want to quickly snap the rest of the steps.
Okay, you want me to start here?
Yes.
Yeah, just scroll down.
Step by step.
Yes.
Yes. Step 2. Yes, thanks.
Done.
All right, so on receiving instructions, please do exercise number 2. Do you see exercise number 2 on receiving instructions?
Yes.
Please do it. Let us go through it tomorrow. Discuss with me what you have done insofar as exercise number 2 is concerned on receiving instructions, and also on exercise number 1 on giving instructions. All right.
Sorry, Prof.
Yes.
Said it. This is the one. This says you received the following statements. Given.
Yes.
One is singing.
So question two. Question two.
Can we have those people singing?
On giving instructions, please do question 1.
Guys, can we mute ourselves?
Excuse me, is it the one about Sahara?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Sabata and Mr. Zahara, yes.
Thank you.
Zahara. What page is that, please? Oh, okay, all right, I can see.
Well,
okay, I can see it.
Yeah.
Statement of accounts.
Yes, please do this work. Let us discuss it tomorrow.
Okay,
Thanks,
Prof.
Prof.
Okay.
Monica, what is this 94 for?
Prof, are you going to share the Word document via email or on the portal?
Which Word document?
The one that you just showed for the lesson. Yeah, the steps.
Okay.
Can you share it to one person's email address and then that person can share it in the group?
You can share it here on Teams, Prof.
But you can also get those steps in page 189 of the study guide.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're right.
Yeah, but I want Prof steps.
Sorry, Prof.
I think the Prof left already. Without saying bye bye. He said good night.
Sorry, guys. The Prof said
Oh.
we must do give you instructions, question 1 and question 2, or question 2.
Yes.
No, it says we should on giving instruction
corresponding
question 1 and receiving instruction exercise number 2.
Yes.
Yeah, but guys, we need Prof's document.
Does anyone know what one?
On the receiving, which one are we doing? Exercise 2.
Yes.
Yeah, on
No,
receiving is exercise 2. On giving
This is Chetty.
instruction.
This is a client
No.
Chetty.
I'm
No.
not. I'm saying
on
Sahara.
question 1 is Sahara, and question 2 is Obadiah.
It is giving instructions.
Question 2.
Guys, when Prof left, who will be responsible to stop the recording of the lecture?
It's Zuki, sir, obviously.
Does anyone know what
Hello,
invigilator app are we
guys.
going to use for the exams?
No invigilator.
And guys, you can refer to chapter 11, page 176, and chapter 12, page 187.
Is the lecture over now? Yes. Hello? Is the lecture over?
Yes.
Yes.
Good
Sorry,
night, everyone.
which page are we referring to?
Yes, it seems Kokwana has left.
Hello, guys.
They're going
Hello.
to
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, we
Hello.
can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello. Yes. Yes, I just want a confirmation, guys, regarding what you should do as a homework. So in terms of receiving, which exercise are we doing? Just finish.
2.
Exercise 2.
exercise.
Exercise 2. And then
Exercise.
Exercise.
Who are the parties
1.
there?
The one.
Yes, on giving instructions, it's question 1. Yes.
Right.
And on
So
receiving,
we're doing
it's
Masedi.
question.
So you're doing Mazu and Masedi.
Yes.
Oh, oh,
Yes.
thank you so much, sir.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Prof, we just surprised me.
No,
Yeah.
it took a short sabbatical, so he's back now.
The prof must share the document he's paging while presenting.
Okay. All right. Good night then. Senior Lamore.
Is it possible for you to give that document to Zugisa for her to give it to us, to post it on the
Yes.
e-leader platform?
It's possible.
Thank you
Prof,
so
it's
much.
possible to share here on Teams.
To do what?
To share here on Teams. You can just attach it.
No, I'll see which one will work better for me.
All right.
All right.
You can see le tatana mbana madambula manene to the rest of us. Iko mtata.
Mungana lo nene, bye bye. Mungana lo nene has commenced, bye bye.
Wow. Nice. Wow. Good evening, folks. Bye bye.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye. Goeienacht.